Hey y'all, hope you're doing well today. So today is going to be part one of a discussion about David in the Bible. And let me just go ahead and preface this by saying I'm certainly not a Bible scholar by any means. And this is, we're reviewing some parts of David's journey or his story for a specific reason, right? Through the lens of what we can learn about our journey in this life as it relates to engaging with darkness and how the darkness operates in our reality. And so it's going to be very specific, and I just wanted to say that, you know, I'm certainly not an expert, so I just want to put that out there. But you know, for me, a lot of times it's very refreshing when I come across someone who is not afraid to express their own perspectives, even if it's something new that's not expected, or maybe it kind of deviates a little bit from the standard narrative. So it you know, anytime somebody is willing to express this unique perspective on something, there's always something to gain, even if it's just insights into another person's perspective. And so you know, I always like to broaden my awareness, because it's kind of like you don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean? And it's like if somebody has been schooled in something, if they've been trained, you know, in any particular topic at all, that, you know, everything is, or truth is just XYZ and that's it. It's kind of like that creates this this boundary, this it's like limitations with regards to perception. You see what I mean? It's kind of like putting restraints on your reality and creating just another layer of subjective reality. So with that in mind, I hope that the insights that I'm able to offer you with regards to David and his journey are something that you can then take and research further as you have interest. And as always, my goal on my channel is to get the wheels turning for you. So I hope that I'm successful in doing that. And if I can inspire you and encourage you along the way too, then that's even more so fulfilling for me, right? So I just hope that you enjoy the message today. I'm anticipating it just being a two-part message, but we'll see. It may go into three. So all right, so what we're going to be doing, not just with the story of David, but some other concepts that are common throughout different myths and stories and folklore, fairy tales, things like that. It's I want us to have fun on this pursuit. I want us to view this as like chasing treasure, with regards to just trying to get a deeper meaning on some old, worn out stories and concepts. It's like, again, looking at all that through a fresh set of eyes. You know what I mean? So just chasing those treasures. And I feel like we're gonna open up with Psalm 141 and 142, and then we're gonna move further into the symbolism of caves. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up by reading Psalm 141 and 142, and we'll go from there. All right, so 141 says, it's a psalm of David. I call to you, Lord, come quickly to me. And before I go further, I just want to say this really touched me. I just felt led to this part in the Bible, because, and when I read it, it was like I totally understood why I was led to look into this for myself. And so of course I wanted to share with you all. But it's like when you have been fooled, deceived, used, manipulated, controlled, and you're so confused. You're just wrapped up in confusion, and you don't know what's up or down or left or right, and it's you're kind of in this state of torment, but you don't really even know how to process it enough to even label it as such. You just know that something's wrong. And if you're a spiritual person, a lot of times this is going to be a major point in your life where you're doing this right here, what David's doing. Okay, you're calling out to God like, I need some help. You know what I mean? So let's this resonated with me so much. So I just wanted to share that with you. All right, it says, I call to you, Lord, come quickly to me. Hear me when I call to you. May my prayer be set before you like incense. May the lifting up of my hands be like the evening sacrifice. Set a guard over my mouth, Lord. Keep watch over the door of my lips. Do not let my heart be drawn to what is evil, so that I take part in wicked deeds along with those who are evildoers. Do not let me eat their delicacies. Let a righteous man strike me. That is a kindness. Let him rebuke me. That is oil on my head. My head will not refuse it, for my prayer will still be against the deeds of evildoers. Their rulers will be thrown down from the cliffs, and the wicked will learn that my words were well spoken. They will say, as one plows and breaks up the earth, so our bones have been scattered at the mouth of the grave. But my eyes are fixed on you, sovereign Lord. In you I take refuge. Do not give me over to death. Keep me safe from the traps set by evildoers, from the snares they have laid for me. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, while I pass by in safety. And then we have Psalm 142. And this specifically says in the opening that this is a prayer of David's when he was in the cave. So just keep that in mind as we read. All right, it says, I cry aloud to the Lord. I lift up my voice to the Lord for mercy. I poured out before him my complaint. Before him I tell my trouble. When my spirit grows faint within me, it is you who watch over my way. In the path where I walk, people have hidden a snare for me. Look and see, there is no one at my right hand. No one is concerned for me. I have no refuge. No one cares for my life. Doesn't your heart just totally ache for him? Probably because you understand, because you've been there. If you've been through any kind of psychological abuse, it's like, yes. Especially if a person, the person that did this to you, wore or is still wearing a fantastic mask, then, you know, it's like you struggle to find somebody to be at your right hand. Like he's saying, it's like, all they see is this perfect facade of this person. They don't know what you know. And so it puts you in this very lonely place. It truly is a big test of strength, right? It's like, I feel you, David. I'm reading this and I'm just like, God, you know, it just really resonates. So I had to share this with you all. So it says, look and see, there is no one at my right hand. No one is concerned for me. I have no refuge. No one cares for my life. I cry to you, Lord. I say, you are my refuge, my portion in the land of the living. Listen to my cry, for I am in desperate need. Rescue me from those who pursue me, for they are too strong for me. Set me free from my prison, that I may praise your name. Then the righteous will gather about me because of your goodness to me. So there's so much in these two Psalms. I feel like we could spend a lot of time breaking all this down. But yes, it's people, you know, setting snares, and then just feeling so alone and just begging God to be there with you. You know, asking God to let the wicked fall into their own nets while, you know, he passes by in safety. So it just truly resonated with me. All right. So let's go into talking about cave symbolism. But I want to say, as far as David goes, it's kind of like reading those Psalms there. I feel like just something that everybody can agree on is David's, how this shows David's humble heart. But what we're going to do is we're going to reveal the savage warrior that he really is, okay, and why. And so, yes, powerful lessons we can pull from this book. Even if you have a different religious belief or spiritual beliefs, I encourage you to hang with me and listen, because there's a lot of life lessons that can be pulled from all kind of different myths from all over the world and different holy books from all over the world. And I'm never here to assert my beliefs as these should be absolutes in your life whatsoever. So I just want to make that statement if you're new to my channel. If you're not new, then you know that. But I just hope that you guys enjoy the message and can pull something from it. So cave symbolism. All right, so I looked up several, actually Googled it. And I encourage you to do that too if you have interest. But here's some symbolism. The first symbolism of caves is that they are often the site of initiation ceremonies, right? A symbol of creation, a symbol of the inability to understand the true nature of reality and to see beyond the physical world. A lot of belief systems describe caves as holy places. They're believed to be holy. They're often associated with water. I think Elsa went into a cave, right? In the Frozen movies, she went into a cave and faced a glacier, which was very powerful and transformative for her, that experience for her. And it touched on her heritage and learning about her true self, right? So relevant to this message, so relevant. But yeah, caves are often associated with water, which is a symbol of the source of spiritual energy. So just encourage you to, if you have very colorful dreams, then maybe you start documenting that and taking note of that, because there may be some messages to surface for you there. Archetypal psychology, that's one thing that's so interesting to me, is a lot of us have the same symbolism to show up in our dreams. And the underlying meaning a lot of times can actually be the same for us in all of our different circumstances. It's just part of the evolution of the human soul. So just very interesting. So Joseph Campbell says, with regard to caves, right? He says, "It is by going down into the abyss that we recover the treasures of life." Remember, we talked about we're going to be chasing treasures, right? Carl Jung alludes that it's metaphorical of our unconscious, where the shadow work is done, if you've heard of shadow work. All right, so consider this, right? Caves are dark, right? They're symbolic of the dark, obviously. And if it's in the underworld, with regards to the hero's journey from Joseph Campbell, right? Then you understand that the cave, it's at that point of the hero's journey where the hero is going to experience the cave. It's when they're in the underworld, and it's dark in the underworld. It's challenging in the underworld. It's scary. It's it's like the ultimate. It's like you're at you're at this peak of transformation, and it just calls forth all that you have inside of you, right? So what's interesting is, if you think about darkness in general, specifically if you're just imagining a cave, it seems to be dark because the light is absent. That's kind of just common sense here, right? So now let's take this into the metaphorical. So we often associate light with God, okay? And God only. But if we consider the implications of our spiritual heritage, right? Like talking about how Elsa went into the cave, right? Specifically, understanding or using the perspective of our bodies being vehicles, then we may see the light as our true self, or another term is our higher self, okay? Just hang with me. I'm going to take this a step further. All right. So, it's really interesting. I don't know if you guys like to watch stuff like this. I do from time to time, not real often, but, you know, there's a lot of testimonies out there of people who have experienced out-of-body experiences, and it's so interesting. It's like they're totally out. Their senses are turned off because they're under anesthesia, they're under some kind of drug influence or whatever it is, and the kind of things that they can describe when they come out of it, you know, a lot of times the physical reality can't explain it sufficiently, right? It's just the kind of things they remember, or they claimed that they saw, that they can describe, but their eyes were closed. It's incredible. So what we need to consider, right, is that the light part of us has been there all along, okay? It's there with us whether we're conscious or whether we're unconscious. That's kind of what I'm getting at, okay? I don't know if I'm doing such a good job explaining, but it'll come together in the end. Okay, so let's consider Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, right, where it says, let us make man in our image. And I know there's a lot of ways, there's a lot of debate over that, and I get it. And I know a lot of people just they take that to mean the Trinity of God, right? The Trinity image of God, meaning the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, right? But I want us to be inspired by that and take the three parts of that, right? That humanity was made in God's image, and then pull three parts from that, right? So we might consider that we have a body and a mind, which come together to make our avatar, you might say, in this reality. But then there's this third part too, right? There's the spirit, the part that animates you, the true you, which my point in sharing these out-of-body experiences with you all, and just reminding you and encouraging you to look into that if you have interest, is that a lot of times people experience this other part of them that they experience it while it's detached from the senses. And that's incredible. It's an incredible experience, right? So, you know, if we see things beyond the natural, okay, which is a common theme in myth and stories, okay, it's because we have discovered the boon of the trip to the underworld. This is what Joseph Campbell describes as the boon, okay? So like something that you gain from being in that cave in the underworld, right? We're talking about the psyche here. All right, so what is this boon? All right, so this is my lens. My lens is that going into the cave and gaining the boon, it doesn't mean that we attained the light or the higher self in the cave, because it was always there, right? Even as we are navigating reality, just totally ignorant, totally unconscious, right? Spiritually dead, you might say, because the rebirth hasn't happened yet, okay? The light was still there. So I don't feel like we achieve possession of the light in the cave. We don't get it. It was always with us, okay? So let me explain. If you've seen my last video on this, hopefully you'll recall, but there's a story in Women Who Run with the Wolves about sealskin, soul skin. That's the name of it. And the woman who is a seal woman, she, obviously mythical, she's representative of the soul. And then the man that she marries, the human man, the fisherman, he is representative of the physical, okay? And then they have a child. And the child is what comes of this connection, which their marriage was very troubling, right? It was very troubling. You might understand or view their marriage as the experience of being in the cave, okay? But there was still a boon that came from it, and the boon was the child. The child was what? It was symbolic of the marriage of this inner light with the mind. That's how I see it, okay? Basically, it means that the light was always there, but what's born is our conscious awareness of it into our mind, the integration into our mind, okay? So it's like, you may have heard the term cosmic wedding. It's kind of like that within us, in our heart and in our mind, it's between us and the divine, right? However you want to describe the indescribable is how I see it, right? The divine. So, you know, a lot of times people feel like this is not possible until you die, your body dies. But I would propose that, what if it's not just that? I'm not saying that's not true. That may be another stage, but I believe that it's when we die to our incomplete self. And this can be labeled so many different ways. Ego death is very popular in psychology, but putting off the old self, you might say in the Bible, right? But it's essentially dying to the incomplete self. You're transformed and you're changed because you have gained the boon of awareness that the light was with you all along, okay? So let's read Luke chapter 9 verses 23 through 25 says, "And then he said to them all, if anyone wants to come with me, he must deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me." It's not a one and done thing. "For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life because of me will save it. What is a man benefited if he gains the whole world, yet loses or forfeits himself?" All right. So obviously, when you come out of a situation where an environment or a person or a group or whatever it was that was very toxic and narcissistic, when you come out of that kind of situation where you felt controlled, we're learning to never surrender ourselves again, right? So he says, what is a man benefited if he gains the whole world yet loses or forfeits himself? Yes, exactly. So let's take a look at the word forfeit. So I looked up the online etymology dictionary. It says from the Latin foris, F-O-R-I-S, which means outside or beyond. And then we have fair. So we're putting together the term forfeit, right? So for is from foris, meaning outside or beyond. And then you have fair, F-A-I-R-E, from the Latin facere, which means to make or do. So when we forfeit something here, in this instance, it's totally relevant because it means we're literally doing something out there, outside of us or beyond us, right? That's not where it's at. And that's what these very selfish and controlling people try to do. They just want to get your attention on them, external, outside of yourself. You're totally neglecting yourself. You're living for this person per their directives, right? So yes, that's very relevant when we take a look at this term forfeit through the roots, right? Yes, to do outside of ourselves. That's forfeiting. Yes. So the opposite of that would be to what? To gain victory, to win. All right. So to win, the verb is from the Old English winin, W-I-N-N-A-N, which means to labor, toil, struggle for, work at, strive, or fight. So let's take a look at how God defines warfare. Okay, so Ephesians chapter 6, I think it's verse 12. I'm looking at my writing. I think it's 12 and not 2. All right, it says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." Okay, the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So if you go back, thinking of that term rulers, right, to Psalms 141, specifically verses 5 and 6, it says, "For my prayer will still be against the deeds of evildoers," not against the evildoers, but the deeds of the evildoers. And then he expands and says, "Their rulers will be thrown down from the cliffs." So here David's acknowledging that there's some other higher force at work within and through evildoers. Okay, so he is praying against their deeds, and he's praying that their rulers will be thrown down from the cliffs, which is totally supporting what I just read here in Luke chapter 9. Okay, I'm sorry, Ephesians chapter 6 about what we wrestle against, right? Yes, against the powers and rulers of the darkness of this world. All right, so let's take a look at the term ruler. So the Online Etymology Dictionary says, and we know this, but I thought this was cool. It says, an instrument used for guiding a pen in making straight lines. Okay, and then it further goes on and says, one who rules or governs, especially in reference to a sovereign authority. All right, so the Bible says if we turn to God and seek his guidance, then he will make all our ways straight. Right? Like a ruler. So if you consider that a ruler is used to guide a pen, the pen can't guide itself, right? It's like a vessel, and we are described as vessels in the Bible. All right, so what does this mean? It means something has to fill it and animate it to make a mark, for it to make a mark, right? Or to bear fruit, or to do a deed, right? All right, so let's go ahead and start shifting gears a little bit, okay? We're going to be building on these concepts. So, you know, David fights Goliath, right? And giant, if you think about the term giant, this is often symbolized by ogres, what are called ogres in myth. So I just want to tell you that now before part 2, so that if you wanted to research some about different myths and how these characters show up, you might start getting some insights, okay, as far as the symbolism here. What I thought was really interesting was I looked up Goliath, and there's a Hebrew root, or there's an origin at least, where you have Gala, okay, G-A-L-A-H, Gala, which is Hebrew. And this translates to exile, captivity, right? Or departed. But it also is representative of the concepts of uncovering or revealing. So I thought this was super relevant, especially when you consider the qualities of the experience described when the hero goes into the mythical cave, right, in the underworld, where the transformation takes place, where like the big battle is fought, right, where all the change happens. It's in the cave. Yes, so David fighting Goliath is significant, and we're going to take a look at that, as well as Saul and the interactions between David and Saul and the symbolism. We're going to take a look at all that coming up too in the next video or two. Okay. Yeah, so take a look at that Hebrew word, Gala, captivity, exile, departed, also uncover and reveal. So yes, next time we're going to take a look at destroying the giant and how it results in a beautiful transformation in our lives, right? The symbolism and how we are changed forever. So I hope that you are encouraged. I hope that you enjoyed the message today, and I especially hope that it got the wheels turning for you. So thank you so much for coming along to here, and I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.